Assalamu alaikum. We are back, and my dear brothers and sisters, now we're joined by my friend and brother, Brother Leonard Noble. Assalamu alaikum, Leonard.
Walaikum salam.
How are you?
Very good, yourself.
Let me just say, when you sit back and you listen to Anthony, what does that do for you?
Makes me feel good because that's what the whole thing is about. And the thing is, he made a valid point when he made reference to the fact that they got to have more positive people in the community. And that's one of the beautiful things about yourself and Crow, because you expose people in the community to a whole lot of individuals that's doing a whole lot of positive things. And so we take that and run with it and try to implement it into our program and move this thing forward.
Now, Leonard, I wanted to question you because I really appreciate you. And I don't, sometimes people think it's admiration society, but you're one of the few people, and I have to tell you, I was surprised that you were so interested in giving them the history of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and just even talking about him, even though we know he had a successful program. But most people are not serious about this, but you really take this serious. Why do you?
Well, you can't be intelligent without bringing him into the equation, because he was one of the greatest people that ever lived on the face of this earth. And we have to recognize the contributions that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad made if you're going to be serious about holding a dialogue about helping black people.
So, and let's talk, as he said, Mr. and Mrs. Noble, you and Joanne have been together for a while now.
Quite a while.
Yeah. Now, but I'm saying you have been a man around, you've been around, and what was it that attracted you to her? I mean, I know she's very photogenic, but it seems that her desire to help people, was that part of the reason you hooked up with her? What did you see?
Absolutely. She had a commitment and a belief system that I shared as it related to our people and the struggles with our people. And she was passionate about that, and she was willing to take it to the nth degree. And that's the number one thing that I appreciated and admired about her, was her spirit.
Now, it doesn't surprise me, but I have to be honest with you. When I was talking to Anthony, I was just saying he looked nice and he looked as though that he was interested the other day. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to him. I had no idea that he was already working and things like that. What, did you single him out, or is that Anthony is the rule? I mean, you treat them all that way.
We treat them all the same, try to give them all the opportunity. Anthony just happened to be one that rose to the occasion. There would be more Anthonys if we had more opportunities. I was listening to earlier today, Senator Reverend Meeks talking about the whole thing with the disparity amongst the school children and taking the kids down to these other communities. I can appreciate that, but I would have been more happy if those ministers of like consciousness had went, and when they build those churches, these multi-million-dollar churches, they demand that some of those subcontractors hire African Americans and ex-offenders.
Right.
That would create more opportunity. You have countless thousands of churches in the city of Chicago. Beyond just prayer, let's do some action. They crying now about the city budget as it relates to this $400 million deficit.
Right.
When you look at the jobs that Walsh Construction controls with these inflated prices, and then they turn around and beat down these contractors as sub-minorities and don't pay them, that's your $400 million right there. If you stop beating up black people and having to pay these outrageous lawsuits from the police department, you wouldn't have to ask people to take 2 and 3 days off. So we have to be serious about what's going on. And if they did their part, that would create more opportunities for these ex-offenders opposed to just lip service.
Now, Leonard, you seem to be very politically astute. You know what's going on, and you've tried to work with people throughout the city and state. Does it surprise you that they don't respond more favorably to you when you present this program, what you're trying to do? I mean, as you mentioned, even about the churches, that they don't even think about the numbers when they're building these institutions. And Anthony, you can weigh in too, if you like. But
the only time the churches, the politicians, anybody think in terms of the ex-offenders is when they're talking about exploiting them. When they need them to go out there in the cold and walk up and down the street and put those little things in the mailbox talking about vote for me and all this nonsense. But the overwhelming majority of these people, when it comes down to the reality of going out here trying to pass legitimate legislation and just simply having what exists enforced to help benefit the plight of those, they don't. And Brother Manir, you go to these little small communities. I was out at Sheridan. I was amazed.
Yeah.
Sheridan, I didn't even know there was an actual community named Sheridan. I thought it was just a prison.
Yeah.
Then you get out there and you find out that it consists of a subway and 2 service stations and a closed bank.
Yeah, I see you've been out there. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the subway was expanded because the fact that they anticipate expanding the prison.
Right.
So there a whole population of people who don't look like us who are in those cells that's profiting from those who are in the cells.
Yeah. You know, it's amazing. I thought Sheridan was going to be a program that really run. We went down for graduations and things at Sheridan because it's a drug.
Absolutely.
But see, even the idea of you going down there, many of the preachers, and I have to tell you this, I learned this from inmates. They say that they don't want to be critical on tape about them, but they're concerned that people just try to use them even with them being behind bars. Now, Anthony, you weigh in on that. Are we on solid ground here? What has been your experience with the churches, and not all, but those that you've tried to work with?
Inside the prison?
Inside, yeah. When you were in prison, did churches come to help you?
There was pastors that would come down to the prisons. I didn't really attend the services down there, so I mean, but as far as help, they would hand out Bibles, cassette tapes with the Bible on it, but
it was no one told you, said, well, Anthony, we're going to be waiting on you when you get outside, and we're going to give you a skill.
No.
You know.
No.
But when you were in prison, did you try to go to school, or what did you do while you was in prison?
I took trade classes.
Yeah.
I took culinary arts, construction management, business management.
Yeah. Okay, so you did do something.
Yes.
You know, Leonard, I want you to tell the people, because you've given us a revelation here, which we know is true, that people do exploit these brothers when they want them to picket and that sort of thing. But what do you say to this public of ours who are turning our back on these young guys that's coming back to the community? What do you want us to do?
They can't turn it back because they are coming back. Eventually they're going to be back. Now you can continue to go ahead and cry about your tax dollars being squandered, and you can continue to pretend like they don't exist. But the reality of it is they've incarcerated millions of people in this country. They constantly have a whole industrial complex that evolve around that concept, and it's not going to go away. So you either face the realities and do the heavy lifting now and make the people that's supposed to be accountable from the offender perspective, as well as some of the providers who get grant money, as well as these ministers. We need more than just the Bibles. See, that's one of the beautiful things, again, about Crow. When you all interact with the brothers, they have something tangible beyond just the philosophy and the theory. They can see, feel, and taste that, opposed to somebody just giving me a bunch of rhetoric and asking me for some money and tell me I see you on next Sunday. I don't need the nonsense.
Right.
We need something of substance.
Well, let me say this. I was honored, brother, and I'm honored to come and speak as often as I can, but I want you to do something as well. But when I hear about that construction manager and pouring concrete, I know these things are what people get paid, and tuck pointing and that sort of thing. But what bothers me, I see a lot of other people from the community come in and pick up this gold, and sometimes we don't want to do these jobs, saying they're not meaningful. And you said you took culinary, you know? That means you can cook a little, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah? So, I mean, you smile when you're hungry?
Nah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, what do you really want us to know about Anthony? I mean, you seem happy now. You're happier than you ever been?
Yes, I am. I mean, I made some mistakes. I went to the penitentiary, paid for my mistakes, came out, met up with Mr. Noble, and he gave me a chance to change my life. And he showed me the way. He showed me how to go about changing my life if I wanted to.
You know, that is beautiful. Somebody show you exactly what to do, not trying to use you, but to help you.
Right.
Yeah. So, do you have a place to stay these days?
Yes, I do.